A woman, entitled and loud, stepped in front of a royal guard, waving her arms and shouting in his face, expecting to break his composure. But what happened next left everyone watching in stunned silence. But before we continue, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you appreciate stories about respect and dignity, make sure to subscribe so you never miss one. The day had dawned clear and bright over the ancient palace grounds, where time-worn stone and centuries-old traditions whispered the secrets of a long-forgotten past. The palace, with its soaring arches and meticulously tended gardens, was a living monument to honor and duty. Every stone, every carved relief on its walls testified to the countless generations who had upheld its legacy. At the heart of this venerable institution stood the royal guards, a line of stoic figures whose disciplined presence commanded respect without uttering a single word. Among them was William, a guard whose steady gaze and measured movements were the embodiment of a lifetime devoted to upholding tradition. His uniform was immaculate, and his demeanor conveyed a strength that came not from physical force, but from an unwavering inner resolve. For William, each day was a reminder of the sacred duty to preserve the dignity and honor of the palace, a duty that he carried with quiet pride and unyielding determination. As visitors streamed through the grand gates, many paused to admire the guards. Their silent vigilance was both mesmerizing and deeply symbolic, representing a link to a storied past that was as immutable as the stone beneath their feet. Yet, not every visitor approached the palace with the reverence it demanded. Among the throng was Karen, a woman whose confident stride and designer attire betrayed an air of entitlement. Arriving in a sleek car that gleamed in the morning sun, she exuded the kind of self-assured arrogance that often accompanies modern celebrity. Clutching her smartphone like a prized accessory, she activated her live stream with the expectation of capturing a moment of instant virality. Karen's eyes sparkled with mischief as she surveyed the orderly ranks of guards, fixating on William with a predatory interest. "Look at this, guys," she declared, her tone laced with a condescending amusement. "Can you believe he just stands there like a statue? It's like he's completely lost his spark." Her voice, amplified by the digital reach of social media, carried across the marble courtyard. She moved closer, her high heels clicking deliberately on the polished stone, each step punctuating her disdain for what she perceived as outdated rigidity. With her camera trained on William, she began her performance, a performance designed to provoke and amuse in equal measure. "Hey you! Anybody home?" she called out, her voice rising in a mock-serious tone as she waved an elegantly manicured hand in front of his eyes. The gesture was exaggerated, a deliberate attempt to elicit any sign of reaction from the impassive guard. But William, whose training had taught him the art of maintaining composure under any circumstance, remained unmoved. His eyes, dark and unwavering, did not betray even a flicker of irritation. Instead, he simply continued to stand guard, a silent sentinel dedicated to his duty. Karen's initial smirk broadened into a look of challenge. "Are you even human? Or just some fancy automaton?" she teased, her voice growing louder as she sought to stir a reaction. Unperturbed, William maintained his silence. The gathered tourists began to murmur among themselves, some with laughter, others with a quiet sense of disapproval. Yet Karen, emboldened by the attention of her online audience, pressed on. She circled around him, her smartphone capturing every angle, every nuance of the encounter. "Maybe you're just too scared to speak up," she whispered close to his ear, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The words hung in the air, charged with an unspoken challenge. Her followers, watching live, flooded the chat with demands for her to escalate the situation, urging her to push beyond the boundaries of polite mischief into the realm of outright defiance. As the minutes passed, Karen's antics shifted from playful banter to an increasingly provocative display. The initial amusement that had animated her performance began to give way to a more aggressive pursuit of attention. "Is that it?" she demanded, her voice now raised and insistent. "You really can't muster even a hint of emotion? Where's the passion?" Her words echoed against the ancient stone, drawing mixed reactions from the crowd. Parents tightened their grips on the hands of their children, and elderly onlookers exchanged glances of quiet disapproval. Yet still, William's expression remained as calm as ever, his eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the spectacle unfolding before him. In the charged atmosphere of the palace courtyard, the tension between the imperious arrogance of one and the dignified restraint of another grew ever more palpable. Karen, fueled by the exhilaration of live digital applause and the thrill of subverting authority, continued her relentless barrage of taunts. Each word, each mocking gesture, was designed to test the limits of the unspoken order that governed the palace. The digital chat on her live stream had transformed into a virtual arena, with supporters egging her on to defy convention and critics warning of the consequences of such disrespect. Yet Karen remained heedless, intoxicated by the power of her own defiance. Then, in a sudden and shocking twist that would alter the course of the day, Karen's performance took a dangerous turn. Her voice, which had so far danced between jest and provocation, shattered into a piercing shriek. "This is ridiculous," she screamed, the sound slicing through the serene air of the courtyard like a sharp blade. In that split second, as if swept up by a surge of uncontrolled emotion, she lunged forward and grasped at William's uniform. Her hand, adorned with expensive rings, clutched at the fabric with a force that spoke of both anger and desperation. The contact was brief, but in that moment, an invisible line was irrevocably crossed, a line that had safeguarded the dignity of centuries. The world around them seemed to pause. Every spectator froze, their collective breath held in abeyance as the magnitude of the transgression sank in. The once bustling chatter fell silent, replaced by a heavy, palpable tension that settled like a shroud over the gathered crowd. William's eyes, still as impassive as ever, flickered with a quiet sorrow, a deep, resonant disappointment that spoke of a lifetime of witnessing similar transgressions, yet always holding firm to his commitment to honor. It was then that, with the precision and authority that had defined his entire career, William stepped forward. His movement was deliberate, measured, and imbued with an inner strength that transcended the need for physical confrontation. In a voice that was both calm and commanding, a voice that resonated with the weight of tradition and the certainty of righteousness, he spoke. "Madam, respect is given to those who know its worth. You have shown none today." His words, simple yet profound, rippled through the silence, their impact magnified by the contrast between his quiet dignity and the chaotic outburst that had preceded them. For an agonizing moment, time itself seemed to hang in suspension. Karen's defiance faltered as the full import of William's measured response took hold. The digital clamor that had bolstered her earlier bravado was replaced by an overwhelming tide of shame and disbelief. Her eyes widened, and her lips trembled with a realization that was as sudden as it was crushing. In her bid for viral notoriety, she had not only disrespected a guardian of tradition, but had also, in effect, undermined the very principles of honor and decency that she had so carelessly dismissed. Almost immediately, the serene authority of the palace was reasserted. A uniformed official, his face stern with the responsibility of upholding centuries of custom, approached Karen with an air of quiet determination. "Madam," he said in a measured tone that brooked no argument, "physical interference with a royal guard is strictly forbidden on these grounds. I must ask you to leave immediately." The words were delivered with the finality of a gavel, and the inevitable consequence was swift. Security personnel moved in, their presence a silent, unyielding reminder that some lines once crossed could not be uncrossed. The transformation in the crowd was immediate. Where moments before there had been a mix of amusement and anticipation, now there was a profound sense of moral clarity. The onlookers, many of whom had come to witness a spectacle of defiance, now bore silent witness to the consequences of hubris. The incident, captured by countless smartphones and broadcast in real time, began its inexorable journey across the digital landscape. Within hours, it had transcended the confines of the palace grounds to become a viral phenomenon, sparking conversations about respect, dignity, and the enduring power of self-restraint. In the days that followed, online forums and social media platforms were alight with discussions of the event. Hashtags celebrating the virtues of quiet strength and disciplined honor trended alongside more critical commentaries decrying the arrogance that had precipitated the confrontation. Prominent public figures, from historians to community leaders, weighed in on the incident. One respected scholar remarked, "This episode is not merely about a moment of public indiscretion. It is a powerful reminder that the values of respect and honor, though often taken for granted, are the very foundations upon which our society is built." Others echoed similar sentiments, emphasizing that the true measure of strength was not found in the volume of one's voice, but in the ability to remain steadfast in the face of provocation. For many, the incident served as a catalyst for introspection. In households around the world, parents found themselves using the story as a teachable moment, a way to explain to their children that true power lay in the quiet assertion of one's values, not in the impulsive outbursts of anger or the shallow pursuit of attention. Teachers incorporated the narrative into lessons on ethics and civic responsibility, underscoring the idea that respect, once lost, could only be regained through actions steeped in honor and humility. In living rooms and boardrooms alike, the story was recounted with a mix of incredulity and admiration for the unyielding composure demonstrated by the royal guard. Even as the digital world buzzed with analysis and debate, the physical space of the palace returned to its customary tranquility. The interruption had been brief, yet its reverberations were deep and lasting. William resumed his post with the same silent dignity that had marked his every step before the incident. His eyes, once again fixed on the horizon, seemed to carry the weight of the day's events with a quiet acceptance. There was no fanfare, no need for celebration, only the enduring continuity of duty, the relentless march of time, and the timeless values that had been reaffirmed in a single defining moment. In the quiet aftermath, as the sun dipped below, the ancient walls and the shadows of the day lengthened. The incident began to settle into the collective memory of all who had witnessed it. The palace, a steadfast guardian of history and honor, had borne silent testimony to a modern parable, that the true strength of a society lay not in the clamor of arrogant voices, but in the measured, resolute silence of those who stood firm in their principles. The image of William, standing alone in the twilight, became a symbol of that unwavering resolve, a reminder that even in an age of instant reactions and digital bravado, the timeless virtues of respect, discipline, and dignity remained paramount. As news of the incident spread beyond the palace gates, media outlets across the country began to report on the event. Newspapers, television stations, and online news websites featured interviews with eyewitnesses who recounted the unfolding drama with palpable emotion. "I've never seen anything like it," one spectator later said, recalling the moment when the royal guard's calm words had cut through the chaos like a beacon of reason. It was as if time stopped, and all that mattered was that singular moment of truth. Analysts discussed the cultural implications at length, pointing to the incident as emblematic of a broader societal shift. A growing recognition that true leadership and strength often manifest in quiet actions rather than boisterous displays. In the wake of the encounter, Karen's own story took a dramatic turn. Once celebrated online for her audacity, she soon found herself at the center of a storm of criticism. Her digital following, which had initially cheered her antics, quickly turned against her as the full weight of the incident became apparent. Public opinion shifted, and what had once seemed like a trivial act of defiance was now seen as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked arrogance. Interviews with those who knew her revealed a more complex portrait, a person who, beneath the veneer of entitlement, was grappling with insecurities that had driven her to seek validation at any cost. Yet the broader lesson remained clear, that in the face of genuine honor and dignity, empty bravado would always fall short. As weeks turned into months, the incident continued to resonate. Scholars included it in discussions about the evolution of social conduct in the modern era, and it was even referenced in academic journals examining the interplay between tradition and contemporary behavior. Community leaders organized panel discussions and forums, inviting experts in ethics, history, and social psychology to explore how a single moment of unyielding composure could inspire a collective re-evaluation of values. The Royal Guard's silent response had, in effect, ignited a broader conversation about the nature of respect in an increasingly noisy and polarized world. In countless homes, the story was told and retold, a modern fable that transcended borders and cultural divides. It was recounted around dinner tables and in classrooms, a narrative that illuminated the timeless truth that respect must be earned through actions grounded in honor rather than demanded through force. The quiet dignity displayed by William became a touchstone for those seeking a reminder of what it meant to stand firm in one's convictions, even when faced with overwhelming provocation. As the seasons changed, and the palace continued its eternal vigil over a legacy built on the pillars of discipline and tradition, the impact of that fateful day only grew stronger. Visitors would occasionally pause before the line of guards, their eyes lingering a moment longer as they recalled the story, a story that had come to symbolize the triumph of inner strength over the fleeting clamor of arrogance. In the stillness of the twilight, when the world seemed to hold its breath, the memory of that singular exchange resonated deeply, a testament to the enduring power of respect and the unbreakable spirit of those who dedicate themselves to a higher calling. And so, as the stars emerged in the vast expanse of the night sky, and the gentle murmur of the palace's ancient corridors filled the air, the legacy of that day became a part of the fabric of the community. It served as a reminder to all that, while the world might be tempted by the allure of momentary attention and the superficial validation of loud voices, true greatness was found in the quiet acts of courage and restraint. In the reflective silence that followed, every individual was left to ponder a simple yet profound truth, that the measure of a person's character is not found in the volume of their protest, but in the dignity of their silence. In the end, the story of that encounter was not simply about a single act of defiance or the subsequent fall from grace of one misguided soul. It was a celebration of an enduring ideal, a commitment to the timeless values of honor, respect, and self-discipline. It was a reminder that while arrogance might seize a moment of fleeting notoriety, it is the quiet, unyielding strength of character that leaves an indelible mark on the world. And as the palace continued to stand as a beacon of tradition, the image of a solitary guard, steadfast and resolute, became a symbol of hope for those who believed in the power of dignity over discord. In the hearts of those who had witnessed the day's events, the legacy of that encounter would live on, not as a cautionary tale of hubris and downfall, but as a living testament to the triumph of inner strength over the clamor of impetuous pride. And each time someone paused before the royal gates or watched the archived video of that unforgettable moment, they were reminded that true power is measured not by the noise one creates, but by the quiet resolve to stand firm in one's beliefs, regardless of the challenges that may come. As the world moved forward and the digital age continued to evolve, the story of that day remained etched in the collective memory, a story of how a single act of dignified silence had redefined the very essence of respect. And in the soft, reflective glow of a setting sun over the ancient palace, the unspoken promise of honor and integrity endured, whispering to every soul that while voices may rise in anger, it is the steadfast calm of a disciplined heart that ultimately prevails.